during my racing days, this was something I always wanted to do, but I never really used it as a relaxation.
Golf, it was a bit too, it was frustrating, was it?
Well, it's frustrating, yeah, but I mean, just to get out and do something completely different away from the paddock and everything else. I never really did it, where now, they seem to be a lot more.
On the other hand, Damon
doing it. On the other hand, he's quite an exception.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I actually want to take you back to 1994, 1995, when you were teammates with Michael Schumacher. How was your relationship with him kind of during those 2 seasons, season and a half?
Pretty okay.
Yeah.
Not a problem at all. I knew before I'd gone into probably 95 more, so I did the 2 races at the end of 94. I expected everything within the team to be about Michael. I probably didn't expect Flavio, my best friend Flavio, to be so supportive of Michael and literally not allow me to do certain things during a test, for example, where I was meant to do a 4-day test. It was meant to be 2 and 2, and I ended up doing half a day. And all that added to the difficulties of that year. But Michael himself, great sense of humour, a little bit of a Britishness in there as well with that humour. Very focused, of course, when he was, in the engineer's office or in the car, of course. But outside that, good fun. And that was what was nice to be, see that side of him.
Obviously, that team was kind of built around Michael. Yeah. Can you give me kind of an example of the situations that the team or Flavio would do that would kind of favour him?
Well, I think I always remember was Ross Brawn, and Ross was good to me because Ross tried to help out in some difficult times that I had there. But Ross, I remember him saying, or hearing him say, that he said he has never worked with anybody as special as Michael and as quick as Michael, and because of that they would do anything for him. So the focus was on Michael, and that's why Michael was very good at getting Ross, Rory, the designer, Flavio, and he got all the people around him because they believed and they trusted what he was going to do when he got in the cockpit. And I think that's always the uniqueness of the very, very exceptional drivers, a bit like Max, a bit like Sajaki. You can trust them. Every single weekend they're going to be able to do the job, and that's what Benetton had with Michael at that time, and he took all that energy from them, but they took the energy from him as well, and that just kept moving them forward and kept their minds trying to work out what's the next thing that we can improve upon. It wasn't just sort of we do the car, we make it better, this is as good as it is, and we move on. No, it was just a continual unbelievable development program throughout the year I was there with him in 95.
Shot.
How'd it do?
Beauty. Yeah, I think it's great. Maybe just left rough. Yeah, great shot. Really good.
Thank you. Yeah. Wind's bringing it back.
You had a huge crash in 1988 at Brands Hatch in Formula 3000.
Yep.
Did that crash change your perspective on life at all, knowing how quickly it could be taken away from you with kind of one small mistake?
No, weirdly not. No, it was before I had the accident, I always thought it'd never happen to me. Unfortunately, it happened to me on that day in August at Brands Hatch. And then afterwards, well, I don't think it will happen to me again. But there was always that chance, but I never believed it was something that I would have gone through initially, but then I didn't feel I was going to go through it again. So did it change my mindset in any way? No, because racing for me was something I've done since I was 8 years old, 8 years old, racing when I was about 10. And when I had that accident, I was that close to being a Formula 1 driver, but I wasn't a Formula 1 driver. And when the option got taken up from Benetton in 1988, so my crash was in August, and I think it was October that I got the option was taken up. So that gave me the drive to go, I can be on the grid at the end of February, I think it was, for the first Grand Prix in Rio.
Do you feel the leg injuries you sustained from that crash kind of limited kind of what you could achieve in Formula 1?
Personally, yes. At the time of racing, no. It was almost that the difficulties I had, I put in a little box in the back of my mind, all locked up, and I threw away the key. And I tried to just carry on doing it in the manner that I was doing it at that time. When I look back, I'm sort of, in some ways, I'm quite shocked at what I was able to achieve, because my ankles are, you know, that's as much as that one bends that way. It only does that. It doesn't go sideways. That one just moves a little bit less.
I mean, that must have affected your throttle and brake control.
Heel and toe. Well, I can't. The heel and toe is normally you roll your foot from the brake to the throttle. I couldn't do that, so I had to find a way of being able to use my knee and my hip to actually just roll my foot, but using my hip, and that was how I was able to blip the throttle. So everything I was doing completely natural before was now something I had to figure out and adapt. And it was the adapting part of it, I think, makes probably the biggest difference. The raw talent doesn't even think about what's going on when he's driving the car, but I had to think about it all the time. So things changed physically, but they changed mentally at the same time.
A little bit short, but it's all right.
You're becoming a very annoying man. You've only hit 2 balls. Very nice. That's better.
Yeah, well out.
That'll do. That's out.
Looking back on your racing career,
Yeah.
do you have any regrets? Like, were there ever any team moves or opportunities you went in one direction and that looking back you kind of wish you went in another direction with?
In Formula One, probably not. At Brands Hatch, when I had my accident, it was a 2-part race. There was an accident in the first part of the race, so the red flag restarted it. Brands Hatch, sort of the pole position is in a sort of a dip. So being a smart boy, I thought I'd park it slightly different. You always get a tiny little bit of wheel spin, and I thought, well, if I park it like that, so we're going towards paddock first corner, get a little bit of wheel spin, it'll spin and go straight, and it'll actually be no problem. But as I said, because it's a dip, I got a little bit of wheel spin and it just carried on going, and I got stuck and I lost a couple of places because of that, and then eventually the accident happened. So I sort of look back saying, my wife always says it quite a lot, well, you were the one who parked it stupidly like that. So that's probably the only thing. I think there are other, you know, situations that come to the fore when you're racing in Formula One and Le Mans as well. I suppose the only one thing I would say is when I was at Lotus, I came and did half a season in 91, and I was there with 92, 93, 94. And I had a long contract, which I signed, and I shouldn't have signed a long contract. I should have made sure that I had probably a 2-year maximum, with the opportunity of them maybe, you know, moving to a place that would have been more beneficial for me. That's probably the only thing I wish I hadn't done.
Great parts.
Lovely, that'll do.
Whilst being a Formula One driver in 1991, you also competed in the Le Mans 24 Hours with Mazda, where you ended up winning.
Yeah.
How were you able to balance a full-time race seat in Formula One and do the Le Mans 24 Hours?
And I was racing in Formula Nippon in Japan as well.
Yes, how do you balance all this?
Well, I had the opportunity when Peter Collins took over Lotus with Mick Hakkinen and Julian Bailey, and I was the reserve driver. So the Mazda thing had started in 1990 anyway, so I had a contract for 1991. Japan was my rehab, so it was my first, 1990 was the first sort of rehab. I did Formula Nippon and sports cars, and then in 91 I just did Formula Nippon. And then the opportunity came up for the Canadian Grand Prix, I think it was after Imola, if I remember correctly, where I got the call from Peter Collins to say that, you know, they want me to step into the car. The balance was always, I'd had a contract with the Formula Nippon first, that became priority. So whenever there wasn't a clash, I was able to then do the Formula One, but I'd always have to go back to either do a bit of testing in Nippon or a race. And then Le Mans itself probably wasn't such a big thing. I think we did one test in Paul Ricard, the 24-hour test, and then the race itself. So actually it didn't take up much time.
Were you expecting to be... Were you expecting to be so quick, you know, in the Mazda?
Well, yes, because I think it's the competition, and you know, it's different in a single seater because obviously you're competing against others in either your teammate or in a different car. But with Le Mans, there's 3 drivers, so you're competing with each other, but you're also working for each other to make sure that you don't make mistakes. But you're all doing about the same time. You're all looking after the fuel in the same way. So it's a different skill set that you need. And probably the biggest difficulty I had was Formula One. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours maximum, but generally a sort of an hour and a half, hour 40. And of course, a sports car and Le Mans, there's a stint, which is about 45 minutes or something like that. We did 2 stints there, so that was an hour and a half. And then it just goes on through the whole 24 hours. I didn't go to sleep. I think we got up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't go to sleep until about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I was already knackered because I was completely oblivious that I had to save as much energy. If there was a 40-second power nap, I should take the 45-second power nap, but I didn't, and I was totally destroyed at the end of the race, especially in 91. But the tool set was slightly different, and that was the challenge. And I had two good teammates with Bertrand Gachot, I did Formula 4 with right at the beginning, and then Volker Weidler as well, who was very good in a sports car. So you could learn actually off of Volker of how he drove the car. So it's just a different way of driving, but there was always ways of being able to make it work for us as a team. And I think that was probably the biggest challenge that we all had.
And did you enjoy the podium? And I know that's a loaded question.
Well, it happened 20 years later. No, that particular time.
So what? Because you passed out after getting out of the car?
Yeah, but as I said, I was up from 7 to 1 o'clock in the morning. The most stupid thing that I can think of that someone would do when you're doing a 24-hour run. Well, it worked until I remember stepping out of the car. I still remember this now. It was the 4 o'clock. And in those days, 4 o'clock on the circuit, wherever it was, that was the end of the race. Nowadays, it's checker flag finish. So when it came, and I was feeling a little bit dizzy because I'd been asked to do an extra stint and a half, I think it was. My fluid had run out. I probably hadn't taken enough fluid before that because I didn't think I was going to get back in the car. So it finished, and I was driving back to the paddock, feeling all very happy and everything else. And I still remember I'm flicking the latch, opening the door, undoing my belts, getting out, and my body was still sitting in the seat. There was this ghost that was sort of hovering outside going, "Phew, I don't feel very good." I remember walking around the back of the car, and I think my dad was there, and I basically just collapsed in his lap because I was just completely destroyed. So, you're right, I didn't quite get to the podium.
I chunked it.
Oh, maybe. Oh, a nice little bounce. Oh, not like that. Come on, roll up, bounce, 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 bounce. I had a friend.
I tell you what, it's done. There you go. It's done pretty well.
I had a friend who did that and got a hole in one.
No way. Favorite F1 livery of all time?
JPS.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Gilles Villeneuve.
Favorite helmet design?
Probably what I did like, and I like the yellow that was in his helmet, was Jody Scheckter.
Lando or Oscar for the World Championship this year? Dun dun dun.
Oh, I think Lando has got what it takes.
Who was the most underrated driver of your era?
I think the guy that should have been given a chance, and unfortunately he smashed me and many other people many times at Le Mans, Tom Christensen.
Favorite car you ever raced?
The Lotus 107.
Who was your idol growing up?
Gilles Villeneuve, once again.
What's been the proudest moment of your career?
Winning Silverstone at my home Grand Prix.
Favorite track?
Used to be Spa, not anymore, too much runoff area, probably Suzuka.
Give me your Mount Rushmore Formula One, your top 4 drivers of all time.
Oh, go ahead. Jimmy Clark. I'm going to throw Sterling in there as well. Then I've got to go Niki Lauda through everything he went through. Ayrton Senna. I see I wasn't aiming there. You've got one of those grips.
Ugh.
Nice.
Yeah, one of those weird ones.
Yeah. Well, they're quite popular at the moment.
Yeah, they are.
Very popular.
Great part, Johnny. You were such a big part of Sky's F1 coverage for so many years. When they decided to not renew your role in 2023, how did that sit with you?
It was a shame because I enjoyed doing what I was doing. I always thought I was trying to be as truthful as I possibly could, and I was trying to tell things as they were, which I think came across very well. I enjoyed working with Damon as well. We always seem to have this unbelievable, because we're so chalk and cheese, but somehow we seem to work together, so I enjoyed that. And it was a disappointment at the end that things they felt needed to move on and change. It came not as a total total surprise. And I suppose that's been in the Formula One bubble for so many years, that you know that things do shift and change, maybe not in your favour sometimes, and sometimes they do. But I'm glad I had that, 11 years of it, and it was fun while I was doing it, and things move on. But the Sky thing was a shame, and we need to have people that can be very understanding of what it's like to do a contract
be in a car
at the same time, and that's something that is maybe a little bit lacking. But I think it's just different. Oh yeah, I think it's lovely.
Uh-oh.
What? You hit them?
I don't know, that guy's looking back at me.
That's nice. That's all right.
Can you remember your first big paycheck in Formula One and kind of what you bought with it?
Well, I think in my first season, I'm sure it was about 200, if I remember correctly.
£200?
No, 200,000, I think it was.
Wow.
Which was not so bad. And I wanted to get a Cosworth at that point, but it never quite worked out. I bought a house instead.
Okay.
So that sort of started from that. And then the only time I bought something that I wanted, a Skyline, this own Skyline in '99 at Stewart.
Oh, very nice.
And that was a car that was brilliant. I used to take the Cosworth guys around Silverstone when we were doing testing and stuff like that, and it was all sideways, and the pop-offs were pop, 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 pop. Fantastic. So I really enjoyed that one.
I grew up hearing stories about Stewart Grand Prix through my dad and my granddad, but I'd love to hear your version. What was it really like having two Stewarts, as your boss?
Hell. No, it was an amazing experience, because Grandad, Sir Jackie, wanted to be a big part of the team, but he also wanted to be a big part of the drivers. He always took, I think, all his drivers, bar one driver, to Alton Park, and it was a full escort Cosworth or whatever it may have been.
I wonder who that one driver was.
Yes, I wonder who that one driver was. Yes, his son is doing quite well.
I think so.
At the present
His
time.
son's
Yes,
doing,
Jos Verstappen said no, I'm not going, and I think that was where Sir Jackie sort of said, that guy will never drive for me ever again, and he didn't. But that period was so nice to be there with Rubens. Obviously, Rubens Barrichello, wonderful guy to be a teammate with.
You had a good working relationship?
Yeah, it was nice. He hasn't got any that edgy side to him where he's trying to have you over and he's trying to work with the team and play games and stuff. Yeah, that wasn't Rubens' way. He was very much a very important part of the very, very beginnings, of course, in '96, and then that third place they got in Monaco. Third place they got in Monaco. And then he led a couple of races during that '99 season, and of course then Nürburgring. Myself being able to get that win, and then Rubens on the podium at the same time, and the celebration we had on that podium as well was just a lovely, lovely time. And I was so lucky that all the stars aligned for that weekend in Nürburgring. But it was a wonderful place to work with. So I have some really good memories of how Paul and Jackie did help, and I probably had my tantrums, as I said, every now and again. But that's part and parcel of the passion we all have for the sport. So for Stewart Grand Prix, it was a wonderful period for Formula One to have a family of the Stewart name and everything that Jackie achieved in his racing career. I don't know if we're ever going to see that again. Get in there, nice, easily done.
Nice, Johnny. Johnny, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
really good.